Namaskar, welcome back. Viewers, among the top headlines, one story that slipped under the radar this week is a UN Special Rapporteur's report, which is actually on Myanmar, but it observes that Rohingyas in India are facing a very difficult, a dire situation because they are being identified and deported. India has strongly reacted to it, rejected the observations and called it biased. However, this does raise the question, when Rohingyas, as pointed out by the government, have become highly radicalized and becoming a threat to our law and order, do we have the right to protect our interiors or not? Meanwhile, Bangladesh continues its provocative moves on the India's northeast, sometimes through statements and more recently through a map in which Assam and the entire northeast are shown as part of Bangladesh. We will go through these issues in Media Scan this evening, but before that, a quick look at what this UN report is all about.
I express serious objections to the baseless and biased observation in the report regarding my country. I strongly denounce the biased approach adopted by the SR of the innocent civilian victims of the April 2025 terrorist attack in Pahalgam through biased communal lens. The allegation that this terrorist attack impacted displaced persons from Myanmar has absolutely no factual bearing. My country rejects such prejudiced and blinkered analysis by the Special Rapporteur.
So, that was Dilip Saikia, India's representative, who, as you can see, has clearly rejected this report, the observations of the UN Special Rapporteur. Let me come to our guest for this evening. I have here with me in the DD studios, Kanchan Gupta, Senior Advisor in the Ministry of Information Broadcasting, veteran journalist. Welcome, Dada. Also with me, Anil Wadhwa, former ambassador, has been diplomat and India's representative in many countries all over the globe. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And joining us back, Rami Niranjan Desai. She is an expert on Myanmar and other countries in that region, the Bay of Bengal belt. You have been listening to her on Media Scan on previous episodes. Welcome back, Rami.
Thank you, Smita. Always a pleasure.
And I'll start with you, Rami. As you may have seen from the report, it says that Rohingyas in our country are facing a very difficult situation because the government has sort of, is cracking down upon them and they are being deported, left alone to fend for themselves, etc. Now, the question is, I would like to have your first, take on the report, but also more importantly, if, as Government of India says, these Rohingyas and other immigrants are becoming highly radicalized and a threat to law and order, do we have the right to protect ourselves or not?
Smita, first of all, good afternoon, and it's great to be on this panel with such, highly esteemed colleagues as you have. So I'm sure they'll add to it. But let me just say at the outset that the Rohingyas have been problematic to us. It's not just in terms of the radicalization that has been going through in Cox's Bazar through the routes that they come into India, but previously they've had a history of attacking Hindus in Myanmar itself. The Khao Sek massacre of 2017 is a very notable event, and I think a lot of people who comment in the United Nations on situations tend to disregard the heinous crimes that were committed against Hindu.
I'll come to Ambassador Wadhwa here. Sir, when it comes to your first response to this report that has just come, including India's, counter to it, but also when it comes to Myanmar, India has been very consistent and clear in its position. We have supported any and every effort for peace in our neighborhood, but at the same time, we do have our own security concerns and demographic concerns, don't we?
Absolutely. I think, on the first point, of course, there are these special rapporteurs who've been appointed in the UN from time to time. And the fact is that these reports are based on media reports or fed reports in many cases, because they do not move out into the zone of where what they're supposed to cover, but rely on secondary sources. And that is exactly what India's representative has pointed out on this occasion as well. If you take the situation on the ground, we just heard from Rami, for example, that the problem of Rohingyas has been there for India for quite some time now.
Yes.
But it's now been exacerbated because of the presence of ISI in the Pakistani High Commission in Bangladesh, which is actually training and also instigating the Rohingyas into actions which are against the Indian interests in the entire Northeast. And I think this problem is only going to grow. So in the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack, which was of course a communal attack on Hindus who were separated and singled out, thereafter it is obvious that the Indian security forces would actually take care of our security interests and make sure that those who are living illegally and are suspect are given special attention by our security forces. And that's exactly what has happened. But that does not mean that the Rohingyas have been singled out. It's all illegal elements who are in India, and the Indian security forces will continue to take that action in the future as well.
Yes. I would like to bring here Kanchan Gupta first. Dada, very clearly, I think this reference that was in the rapporteur's observation was perhaps, about this drive against illegal immigrants in our country that was initiated following Operation Sindoor. It's okay. India has strongly objected to this report and made its point. But isn't there a big section within our country too, which keeps, sometimes running to the top courts and sometimes on the streets through activism, trying to, the bleeding hearts for the Rohingyas, even as they pose a threat to our security?
Let me just structure my response into 3 points. As Ambassador Wadhwa said, that the special rapporteur reports are basically busybody reports, and they are produced to justify the existence of the UNHCR and the huge sum of money which is spent year after year in maintaining the bureaucracy of the UNHCR and their country representatives, etc.
In that case, they shouldn't be, pointing at countries. They should maintain good relations.
Now, here it is interesting. The report is actually on Myanmar.
Yes.
It is not on India.
Right.
And I think it is part of this concerted effort to get some sort of an access to Rakhine State through Bangladesh. And they have been working on the Bangladesh government for this. I don't know what has come of it till now, but with the Pakistanis present over there, I don't think that will come very easily. So the whole idea is to bring into question the Myanmar government's approach towards Rohingya refugees who are returning from Cox's Bazar. But they have in between slipped in this paragraph that after Operation Sindoor, India has begun to deport them and throw them out. Now that is not true. The action against, you can just Google for it, the action against all illegal immigrants, whether they are Pakistanis, Bangladeshis or Rohingya Muslims, it began almost a year ago. So it predates Operation Sindoor. But the attempt here is to draw a communal link that because Hindus were targeted in Pahalgam, the government of India is targeting Muslims, the Rohingya Muslims in this matter. And that is disingenuous and that is also dangerous. And the last point which I would like to make, we have a problem. We have a domestic problem too. You have these foreign funded NGOs and high profile senior advocates of the Supreme Court who have who are known to have linkages with organizations abroad, and they keep on raising the question of protecting illegal immigrants over here. And in one particular case, it was quite it got a lot of media coverage. They demanded that the Supreme Court should mandate that no Rohingya Muslim shall be thrown out. Now, the Supreme Court, of course, has refused to do it, and they have given the government the right to throw out whoever is deemed to be an illegal alien. What people forget, India does not. India is not a signatory to any refugee treaty which is operational globally. India is not party to any agreement to accept refugees from anywhere in the world, whether it's in its own backyard or from any third country or far country. And even when the Dalai Lama and the Tibetans came in over here, it was made very clear to them that they are being given shelter and they shall not indulge in any political activity which is prohibited. But the Bangladeshi Muslims who come in over here, they get involved in religio-political activities, and the Rohingya more so because they have this strange streak in them which makes them unacceptable even to each and every Muslim country which has been approached has refused to accept even a single Rohingya refugee because they are unable to live in harmony with any other community. I just want to be very blunt about it.
Yes, I think I'll also get a take from Rami here if we have the connection fixed. Rami, you were talking about what Hindus had to face in the Rakhine province in the past, but more recently, there is this whole activism going on about, India not trying to be humanitarian with the Rohingyas. Dada just pointed out that we are not signatory to any such agreement or, any such charter on refugees. And yet, the commentariat has been constantly writing about it and trying to raise an issue both in India and in other places like UK, US, etc.
You're quite right, and I have to agree with Dada about what he said. The Rohingya issue is a peculiar issue. We have had a prolonged problem with them, like I mentioned earlier on before I got cut off with the Khao Sek massacre. There is a foundation of mistrust. But, that mistrust goes beyond India having mistrust with them. Even Bangladesh has, problems with them. There was a time when the death penalty was enacted against methamphetamine traffickers into Bangladesh because of the kind of problems from Myanmar, because of the kind of problems that it was causing in Bangladesh. And it came out to be that most of the traffickers being used were Rohingyas. The Rohingyas have also had an opportunity to go back. There was discussions, I think it was in 2019 or 20, that there were discussions between the Tatmadaw and the Bangladesh government saying that we are ready to repatriate them, but they didn't want to go back. When you ask people in Rakhine State, the Arakanis, if they would like to have them back, they say, of course, we'd like to have them back as long as they understand that they are not Rohingyas first, that they are Arakanis first, because they belong to the state of Rakhine. Now, clearly, there is a problem of them being able to live harmoniously with communities alongside them. But when it comes to international parties commenting on them and virtue signaling any of these countries, let me remind them that the Yunus-led interim government, when it first came in, it was Mohammed Yunus who traveled around the United States asking for some of the Western countries also to take them, and none of them did so, or I think in the future are going to do so. So I think they have enough immigration problems of their own, and that is where they should be concentrating. Bangladesh, if we look at it in the present political scenario itself has a lot of chaos going on, and we've seen the level of radicalization increase. You mentioned earlier about the report that was presented in Pakistan. Before that, there was Sultanate-e-Bangladesh, the NGO that distributed maps with West Bengal, the Northeast, Jharkhand and other states as part of Greater Bangladesh. So in light of this sort of provocation, I think, these kind of statements are irresponsible. They come from...
Rami, please, please stay connected. We are coming to that in just a couple of minutes. But before that, a quick take from Ambassador Wadhwa. Sir, as Rami put it, in perspective, and Dada also spoke about it, there is this constant thing going on about whether the Rohingyas issue is a refugee problem. Is it a problem of a race? Is it a problem of religion? The world doesn't seem to really have a clear view on that. Quickly, sir.
So, clearly, first of all, India is not a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention.
Yes.
So, therefore, we are not bound by the non-refoulement principle. And, there's no legality in India which has been laid down on this issue. But the fact remains that there have been a number of court judgments from time to time which have been inconsistent with each other. So therefore, what India goes by is the spirit of this convention, even though it is not a party. But at the same time, when it's a question of national security, then of course India has full rights to take whatever action it should in the circumstances.
Absolutely.
Now, as we discussed earlier, there's this deadly combination today of hostility from Bangladesh, the presence of the ISI in Bangladesh, the training of Rohingyas on the ground, and in the light of what has happened after Pahalgam, etc., it's important that India takes all steps which are necessary for its security. And that's where we are.
Yes, and I may just remind that there have been instances when these people have been found in outbreak of violence, not to go too far, right here in Jahangirpuri, in the national capital, the police has evidences about it.